And welcome to a special edition of Sudbury News. We don't always have a legendary band coming to Sudbury and playing, but we
Where
do.
in the room? Where?
Yeah, we do tonight. And as we know, the particular band are the Beach Boys, and we have Bruce Johnston with us, who we might as well be called a founding member of the band, although you joined a little after the beginnings of the Beach Boys, and that's perfectly fine. For all intents and purposes, you've been with
I
them.
always say I joined the band the week I went on tour. The week the band could afford to go first class on flights.
Well, you joined at the right time. That's exactly, yeah,
Or
for sure.
California.
Yeah, exactly. So welcome to Sudbury, by the way. Have you ever been in? Yeah, you have been in Sudbury before. I know that.
You know who kicked our rear ends? Who was on the show with us when we were in Sudbury?
Roy
Roy
Orbison?
Orbison. Oh my God, that was a thrill for me to play with him.
I was there. You guys were playing Laurentian University, the track there. It was packed. It was a great, I think it was for the Junior Olympics or something like that, the Canadian Junior Games or something like that. And Roy Orbison, oh my goodness, I don't know if I was expecting that, but he was at the top of his game for sure. And I was expecting, someone who might have been over the hill, or I don't know, you don't know what to expect, but he really put on a good show. And you guys did too, by the way. You guys kicked some butt as well.
Well, we're still trying to do that many decades later.
And you're doing a good job of it. I also caught your show down at Casino Rama in Aurelia not that long ago. I think it was last year. And my wife and I had the fortunate experience to come backstage and spend a little bit of time with you guys, get a picture and all that stuff. So experience, the fan thing. And we really appreciate it. You guys are more than generous with your time and perfectly fine gentlemen. So let's begin the show.
I thought you were going to talk to me about what you had for dinner at the casino.
Yeah. They always have good food at casinos. You know that for sure.
Well, absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about your background, getting into the Beach Boys. So let's take us back. Not everyone is all that familiar with a little bit of that. So we'll get that out of the way and then move on.
First of all, if you ever want to get a great from the Beach Boys direct overview of the band, we have this book out called The Beach Boys by the Beach Boys. And it's on Amazon. It's probably $40 or $50, but it's heavy. When I read it, I have to stand up. But what's great about it, you're going to learn so much about the Wilsons, and certainly Al Jardine and Mike Love. But it's all written by us, so there's it's the real truth and the real pictures, and that's one way to do it. Okay, me grew up in LA, not from a musical family, but I always got in front of music and I started singing and as a young guy, and I had a high school band because I figured, hey, I can meet girls. So I had that band, and guess who I had? Phil Spector in the band. What a weird guy. Ooh. And that's proven itself. Anyway, so I listened to the radio. I learned all these groovy songs, and I learned a little bit about singing, but mostly about playing. And time marched on, and because I was about 7 miles from Hollywood and where all the recording studios were, so I got down there all the time. And I eventually kind of got in the music business for a label that's an independent label that had La Bamba, Richie Valens. Now, I had backed him up when I was 15 for a whole summer and got to know him a little bit. And then I got to know the guy who owns the label. So I started there, and so somewhere between going to college, playing in bars, playing in fraternities, writing songs, all that stuff, time marches on. And I got out of college early, and I got a job at Columbia Records producing records. So with Terry Melcher, who produced The Byrds, Tambourine Man. And we produced this song, Copycat Beach Boys car song, that went to number 4 at Billboard, called Hey Little Cobra. Spring Little Cobra getting ready to strike, shut them down. So that kind of began being around hits, and I'll make it really fast. I got a call from Mike Love, and he said, Bruce, when I was at Columbia Records, Bruce, could you help us out? What's up? We need to find someone to fill Glenn Campbell's spot, who was filling Brian Wilson's spot on the road. And I called a lot of people, even the guy who became our eventual bass player. So I wound up volunteering and said, well, I can come down to New Orleans. This is April 9th, 60 years ago, April 9th, 1965. And I came down and did a couple shows. And then I came back home, and Carl, as I'm going to my house, the phone's ringing, and I run and I get it. It's Carl, and he says, Carl Wilson, he says, can you come back out for 2 more weeks? And one thing led to another, and I knew Brian, for studio days and everything. I knew everybody, and so he just said, "Hey, we're starting a new album. I have some of the tracks made. You want to come and sing with the guys? I want to have a new timbre. You know how your voice sounds." So the first song I recorded, the name of the song, was Mike had just finished writing. Mike Love, Brian's cousin, "California Girls," and so that's the first Beach Boy recording I was ever on.
That is so awesome. You were just dropping all these names like it was nothing. You were in a band with Phil Spector before the Beach Boys? He was in your band?
Before he had the Teddy Bears having a #1 Billboard hit, to know him, to love him. I had a hit that I think you credit for, another #4 in Billboard instrumental called Teen Beat by Sandy Nelson. Just all that stuff gets you going, and then you're working at the record label, then you stumble into, I'm so young that I kind of, I was getting tired of the label, and I wound up being in the band, and I'd say the greatest thing for me in the band, not singing on the recordings, but being able to spend time with Brian Wilson and Mike Love writing hits. I learned a lot. I wrote a couple of hits. I wrote Barry Manilow's biggest hit called "I Write the Songs."
I was going to talk to you about that. That's one of my all-time favorite songs. That's as a youngster, hearing that song, it resonated with me for some reason. There's something spiritual about that song. It almost brings a tear to my eye.
Let me tell you what the song's about. I remember we were at Asbury Park, where Springsteen plays, in 1966, and the local guy from the distributor from Capitol Records came running over to the Saturday to the sound check, and he said, "You've got to stop. You've got to turn the God Only Knows over." That's when they have the records A side, B side. "You've got to start singing God Only Knows." Pardon me. Wouldn't it be nice? We said, "Why?" "Because radio stations won't play the song because of the word God Only Knows." Oh boy!
You're kidding.
So I remember that. So years later, when I wrote "I Write the Songs," I never told Barry what "I Write the Songs" was about until about 5 years ago. Because I knew he'd be so excited, he'd probably blow it, and he wouldn't even know why he blew it. I write the song, I write the words, I wrote the music. Cool. What's it all about? It's an interview of God. It's like, God, hey, tell me about yourself. Okay, well, I've been alive forever. I wrote the very first song, put the words and the melodies together, I'm music, and I write the song. Done. So that's the whole story.
Man, no wonder it brought a tear to my eye. It just connected with me for some reason, and there was an underlining meaning that I didn't even realize that was probably resonating the whole time through. It kind of spoke to my spirit, and I think that's kind of like where it came from, right?
Well, it sold 20 million albums in 3
I know.
minutes. But here I am hanging out, Mike and Brian, just watching all the things they write, and then I started writing songs, and then I kind of listened to Brian's vocal arrangements, and I vocal arranged and sang, and I used Billy Hinchy and Tony Tennille and Carl Wilson, and we are the vocals on a 25 million copy selling album by Elton John for "Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me." Like, okay. So then life goes on. I wind up doing all the vocal arrangements and singing on the Pink Floyd album, The Wall. And now, years after that, I get a call from Skrillex. You know Skrillex?
I'm not familiar.
You know
No.
he is?
No.
Sonny, he's a DJ. He makes about...
Okay, you're a bit frozen there, Bruce, for some reason at the moment. I'm not sure what happened here. Hopefully the feed comes back. Okay.
And then Christian and I were in the studio, and we started writing a song with a couple of the guys, and it was played for by our friend Rex Kudo, who produces Justin Bieber, and he played it for the weekend, and we wound up writing a song with him. And I think that's a big deal for, like, I'm older. I'm going to be 83. Oh my God, in June. Here I am having success as an older guy. And also we're doing 150 shows a year, Beach Boy stuff. And I talk about Christian because that's Mike's son, and he writes great. He'll be probably on the show, but he writes his stuff. But we stumbled into this weekend thing by mistake.
That is an amazing story. You're talking about how from a young age you ended up with this almost meant to be pathway you were on with the music business, and it never ended until just recently. You're writing songs that are reaching young audiences today that are selling millions of copies. It's incredible.
Well, that's all I know. The reason I'm babbling about this stuff for anybody who's listening, if you're young, guess what? You can be me. You can be 15 and you can be turning 83 and still be in the music business. So
For sure.
don't ever give up. I didn't.
It's an amazing, timeless message for sure, and it's going to resonate with all kinds of people, including myself. You just got to be you. You got to be you, and you can't ask permission. You just got to do your thing, and that's the great thing about music. Someone could play the same note. You could have 20 musicians in the same room. Each one plays the same note, but for some reason it sounds different from each person, and I don't know how that works. I don't know if you've been able to figure that out. But it
just does. But think of it another way. Think about when you go in a restaurant and someone's playing guitar, acoustic guitar or piano, and they're singing hits that you know. Well, think about what they're doing. It's just them and the one instrument. So when you're writing, it better sound like a hit to you with the one instrument, or stop writing it. Start another one.
Exactly. And you do your thing, and you do it the best you can, and life will kind of work its thing out. Some people, we all have different paths, and not everyone has the same thing. And just because one person has one path, it doesn't mean we're going to do the exact same thing.
Well,
Now,
I have asthma in my feet. As my feet hit the ground, they hurt. I threw a joke in. Okay, now go ahead.
I like that one, though. You caught me off guard there. Asthma in your
I
feet.
never took drugs because I'm just flying out there. So.
You don't need them, obviously. So
No.
this is the thing. Like you said, you've been on the road. Have you ever had a time in your life when you've taken a hiatus? And what was the longest hiatus you would have taken?
Because when the drug element came into a couple of members of the band, I didn't want to be around anybody. And that's my wife. Now I have 4 boys out of grad school, and that's when I write the song. So it kind of worked out.
Interesting. So while you were life kind of threw you a little bit of a curveball of no reason of your own, you took advantage. Yeah.
Yeah, I took advantage of the time.
Yeah.
And I went surfing. I went surfing every day.
Just perfect for a beach boy to say what you did when you had the time, for sure. And drove some classic cars. Are you a car guy, by the way?
I like foreign cars, to tell you the truth. I had a 63 Porsche S that I bought from one of the guys in the association for like $3,000. It was so cool. It was so cool.
My brother's a car guy, so he'd know exactly the model you were talking about. He would know everything there is to know about that car.
Well, now I drive a 2016. I'm an original owner. Mercedes C300, and it's probably, if you go to Germany, a taxi cab on the street. So that's what I do.
There's something to be say about they don't make them like they used to in a way. Like I have a 2003 Toyota Camry, and I got it with low kilometers on it, and you name it. It was like one of the best cars ever built for that sweet spot of for the price.
That Camry gets better every year. It looks better. It drives better.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So now you've been on the road. It seems like forever. So how do you handle this schedule? Like, it's pretty grueling. Like you're on tour just as much as any, I don't know, up and coming band, as far as I can see. Unless you're
the up and coming bands probably have to go on the road for a lot. Now older bands don't really do that. We do. Ever hear of a band called Lokesh?
I have not.
Well, they had a country song. Give me the Beach Boys. They came to Mike. They said, Mike, can we take some lines out of I Get Around? I went to number 50 in Billboard, by the way. And,
Nice.
and he said, yeah, if we can sing on it. Well, we've made this great friendship. And as of this week, if any of you are country fans, I don't know the name of their song, but it happens to be sitting in Billboard magazine at number 1.
You're kidding.
No, at
Wow.
number 1. you know. So
You guys don't stop. You guys just don't stop. You're a force to be reckoned with. This is incredible, man.
well, why would you stop writing?
I know.
I can sing okay, but I'm more about the writing. You know, for every 1,000 songs I write, I keep maybe a chorus.
It's true.
I throw everything away. Throw everything away.
Yeah, it's kind of like you got to write 100 songs to get one keeper or something like that. You know what I mean? Like you just keep
1,000.
writing. 1,000. Whoa, 1,000 for every one. So you just got to keep doing it. And
That's my number. I'm not as good as other people.
and that's what they say. You don't have to be the best at something. You just have to do it the most or something, right? You just have to be the most persistent to succeed, and that will help anybody get further than someone who's born with all the talents and abilities. If you just keep working hard at something, you can become the best over time.
We're sitting on our bus here. We're in Sudbury with you. I don't remember paying attention to Sudbury when we played, and Roy Orbison was our co-bill. But we're driving around the day. It's raining. It was snowing. I can see that your city's kind of in a rebirth.
It is.
There's good stuff around here.
Yeah.
You know, I'm very happy to be here.
We're preparing for a new arena downtown. You're going to be playing in the old Sudbury Arena. It's probably one of the last concerts that will be there. It's they're starting work on the new arena in the parking lot right next door to you.
Well, we're kind of hoping that it doesn't cave in, because Tim said that when he was 20 years old, he was working in the underground trying to catch molten lava or something.
Yeah, mining is the industry here. Like we have some of the world's largest nickel reserves and other precious metals here. So that's the main industry of the area. Also, NASA.
You got some groovy houses, and
Yeah,
you've got some big stuff. You got Costco and Walmart.
oh, we got Costco. Yeah, that's one of the biggest draws.
Hey, it's really cool to have Costco, honestly, because you save a fortune.
It is, yeah. You know, I like the way you come from a practical kind of way. You're talking about, like, you appreciate the Toyota Camry. You know, you're talking about Costco is a main thing of a community because you got to save prices. You got to have that selection. It just is what it is. Stuff like this.
And Walmart and Sam's, all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It saves people money.
For sure.
I'm not advertising for it. I'm just saying what a practical thing to go in and not spend $38 American for a T-shirt. You might get 10 for 38. You know.
Now we're going to end this interview on a little bit more of a serious, I guess. No, because we had a really good time chatting. Yeah, we're going to be a little bit serious. Can you imagine that? Seriously, we're going to be serious. So there's been some political things going on between Canada and the U.S. As of late, and it is what it is. Canada, we're in the middle of an election here for our new prime minister, and they're really politicizing the way that things are shaping up with the tariffs and things like that, and it's becoming a little adversarial. How have your experience been since you've been in Canada with the political climate kind of changing a little bit?
Nobody has thrown a spear at us when we saying everybody's gone surfing USA. So I think we're okay.
Yeah, they were talking about we have an OHL team here, which is just the league below the NHL, and they play the music, you know, in between. And so people are saying, hey, we gotta play some Beach Boys songs because they're gonna be coming in town. And they're saying, okay, what's your favorite Beach Boys song? And they're like, okay, we play this one. And someone brought up Surfing USA, and they're like, maybe not that one. Just because of
for us. By the way, I could care less about politics. I know a lot about music, and I know, as a surfer and a sailor, I know a lot about water. When these Hollywood guys get on there and they're instant experts, that's not my scene.
No, you know, and I appreciate that.
Water and music, and I'm done.
I appreciate that, Bruce. And thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to talk with us. And thanks for appreciating us and your fans and continuing to bless us with your talents and not stopping. You're a great example to myself and all of our listeners and our viewers. We really appreciate you, and have a great show tonight at the Sudbury Arena. Hey,
it's so cool to be in Sudbury. I'm really so happy walking around here. So thanks.
Well, hopefully you'd be able to have nicer weather, but at the same time, it's a little change from California.
I don't care. It's spring. I walked out of the Hilton Garden Inn, and it was snowing, but that's okay, I guess.
Yeah,
Snowing in spring.
yeah. That happens here. You never know what you're gonna get. That's the whole thing. If you like variety,
Do you remember the song? We had joy, we had fun,
sun, we had seasons in the sun.
well, we were the first band to record it. Terry Jacks brought it in, and it sounded so horrible. So he recorded it and sold like a
I'm
million
glad you
copies.
brought that up because I knew he kind of wrote it for you guys or he approached you with it. I didn't know you actually took a shot at it in the studio. I wasn't aware of that fact.
Oh yeah, it's
Oh.
probably in our somewhere released somewhere, but we just didn't sound good on it. And I thought Rod McEwen wrote that. It doesn't matter. He was so
Oh, I see.
excited about this, but then he recorded it and with his wife when they
Uh-huh.
were called the Puppy Family.
Yeah.
You know, so
And it just sounded so raw, I think. Again, right? One person, you hear about that with, not to keep going on too long, but, holy cow, I'm a rock, I'm an island.
well, yeah, well that sounds like
Simon and
Simon-
Garfunkel. So yeah, so it was Bridges Over Troubled Water. I think Paul Simon was originally going to sing that song, and then Art Garfunkel sang, and he's like, "Okay, it's your song now. It just doesn't belong to me. You got to sing it." So
Timmy,
it's
why are
similar.
you leaving the bus? I'm just giving Timmy a hard time. Okay, Christian, huh? All right.
So is Christian going to go next?
So we're on our. Have you look? Take a look at this. We're on our tour bus.
Yeah, I can see now. They got the background on, so we can't really see anything because there's a background
you
fix
can-
there.
never
It's
mind.
like a nice blue background, but
Well, shall we bring Christian Love?
yeah, Christian for
He
sure.
writes. He sings better than I do. He writes better than I do, and I've known him since before he was born.
Right on.
Okay, so Christian, here
Yeah,
comes
and
Christian Love. It's
Thanks
the
a
love.
lot. Thanks a lot, Bruce. We really appreciate you. All right. Have a great show tonight. Okay, and we're back, and Christian Love is just getting his seat here. He's just getting comfortable on the tour bus, which you probably spend a lot of time on.
Sky behind me.
Exactly.
Beautiful here today.
Yeah, you have this really blue, sunny-looking sky behind you. I guess thanks to modern technology. And
Matching my hair.
your hair, yeah, it's blending in the background. Matches our logo too, our colors. So you're perfectly branded with us today. Really appreciate you taking the time. I know you got a busy schedule and you're ready for the show tonight. So did a little bit of reading on you, and it's pretty impressive. I really appreciate musicians doing their own thing. You're not just riding on the coattails of what you could do with your father and his fame. You're doing your own thing.
Weekend.
Yeah, I know that's Bruce. So I wanted to start with that a little bit. So the first question is, you probably answered this a million times. What's it like growing up, as the son of someone who's, lead singer of a band as big as the Beach Boys? And then we'll just get into your career right after that. We'll just get that out of the way.
Yeah, it's definitely an exciting thing when you're growing up, and you're going on the road every now and then. Back then it was crowds like up to 50,000, all this stuff. So it was really exciting actually. I was basically when I was growing up in high school, all I did was surf and look for girls and stuff. But,
Just like any teenager would,
yeah.
basically. Regular kind of life. Well, I like that. Obviously, it probably wasn't all roses and whatever. There's probably challenges as well, but it's good that you're able to just look at the positive of that. And you probably met a lot of famous people, I'm sure, too, because that's the crowd you guys were in. Were you ever starstruck as a teenager or as a kid with anybody that you ran into in those circles?
Not terribly, but then I probably don't remember meeting some people. I remember meeting Ringo Starr, I think.
Uh-huh.
And it was a big gig at the Capitol, and that was really exciting. That was definitely a good moment for me.
And were you a fan at the time as well, as most people would have been, of the Beatles, I'm saying?
I was, but at the time I was also listening to a lot of the British like new wave kind of bands out of the 80s that were coming up. and
Yep.
I watched a lot of MTV.
Yeah.
Martha stuff. Yeah,
We're pretty much the same generation, so I can relate.
yeah. I was an '80s baby.
For sure. So here you are. You got an opportunity to play in your dad's band now. And how did that all come to be?
I remember him asking me, "Oh, would you like to play bass for us?" And I think Chris Farmer was the bass player at the time. Are you familiar with some of the older Beach Boys? Or
Yeah, there's been quite a few people in and out of the roster. I know that, so I may be familiar with some and not others.
yeah, so Chris Farmer was around for a while. I think he was the music director before Scott Totten came into the scene.
Okay.
And he was the bass player. But anyways, I was like, I don't really know if I want to take Chris's job. How about I just learn to play the guitar? And that's kind of when I was starting to learn to play the guitar anyway, so it timed out pretty well.
Right on.
And I learned, my friend Randall Kirsch, who was in the Beach Boys at the time as well. He was singing the falsetto parts, and he taught me most of the songs, how to play most of the songs.
Right on. That's so awesome. So what year would it have been that you joined up with the Beach Boys?
2006.
Oh, that long. Wow.
Fair assessment. Yeah. And then I did take a hiatus from 2014 through 2018.
Okay. And when did you start doing your own thing? Like, I know you're learning the guitar and things through this, but when did you actually start to break out on your own as a solo artist?
I've been writing songs since I was about 19, 20 years old. So I formed a band when I was, like 20 years old called Alexis Kane.
Cool.
And we were recording songs all the way back then when I was in my early 20s. And then in 2009, maybe, I came out with an album called Dancing with the Sun. And
that sounds sounds pretty hot.
Yeah, I recorded that album, and then just recently I recorded my album Only Alibis, and I think released it about a year and a half ago or something.
So tell us about your new album. Like, what was the process with that? When did you start writing the songs? Was it a long process? How was the process all the way through to, releasing it?
It was a fairly long process because I would create songs at home, and then we were kind of going into the pandemic. It was right around that time. And then I would shoot out songs to my producer, Jeff Peters, who actually works for the Beach Boys as well, just mixing and stuff. So I would shoot him over songs, and I'd say, which ones do you like of this batch? And he would help me decide on songs. And then I would just take trips down to Pasadena where his studio was, and we started chipping away at it during the pandemic and post-pandemic as well.
Yeah, I remember talking to quite a few artists or listening to other interviews who were in the middle of doing their albums, and then the pandemic hits, and it just kind of, I don't know, it's just a weird vibe. It does certain things. The albums, I think, all turned out a little different than they would have if the pandemic didn't hit, because there's a lot of introversion going on during that time, and reflection, and maybe more time to work on songs, and maybe some darker stuff comes in, or I don't know, it just depends. But your album seems to have a lot of fun in it, and a lot of just kind of, I don't know, it's just kind of poppy and happy. I didn't listen to the whole album, but the songs I heard sounded kind of fun.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I try to keep it fairly upbeat, but there's songs on there about infidelity and also politics as well, a little bit.
Yeah.
I keep it pretty vague politically because I don't like to get into that too much. But but yeah, there are some hints at political issues and stuff.
I see Tim in behind you there. He's just doing his thing.
Hey, we're on the bus. There you go, man. Come on.
We're having a party.
So awesome. I'm so glad we could just kind of keep it real here and not be all, stiff and whatever, professional. So now that the album's, when was it released? What, about 10 months ago or so? Or how long ago?
My album was probably released, I would say, not this last summer, but the end of the summer before. So it's been a while.
Oh, okay. So I, for some reason, thought it was.
the twist was that we kind of re-released it, and we did a deluxe edition
Right
last
on.
spring. So we added like three bonus tracks to the album, and we did
Nice.
a deluxe. And there's a live cut that we
Cool.
put on there.
And when do you get time to dedicate to that with the Beach Boys schedule? Like, how do you kind of manage the two?
Man, talk about schedule. Yeah, it's crazy.
I know.
I mean, there's time. Like right now, when we go home, we'll have about a month off. So there's little times, and also I'm getting inducted to the Hall of Fame. Believe it or not,
You are getting inducted to the which Hall of Fame?
it's the Entertainment Music Hall of Fame.
Nice. That is awesome. In which
No,
category is there?
Sorry, let me reiterate. American Music Hall of Fame.
Okay, perfect. Right on.
I think they're talking.
And which year for 2025?
I guess. I mean, we're doing it next Sunday. We're going to do it.
That is so awesome. That is right on. And I'll be looking out for that, obviously. And your album, how's it been being received?
I mean, I think within Beach Boys fans and fans of mine as well, I think people are really loving the album. So, I mean, that's the feedback that I get. I don't hear the negative stuff, so that's good.
Yeah,
But,
I was impressed. Like I said, it's very poppy, very happy. It's very non-offensive. Like you said, some of the songs are political. I didn't hear any of those ones yet, but so non-offensive. Very. My partner came in when we were listening to one of the songs, and he says, "Oh, that sounds like the Beach Boys might have been if they were in today's day and age." It had that kind of on the beach.
Summer track.
What's
Summer
that?
track?
Yeah.
The summer track? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It had that vibe to it.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, which I didn't really intend to do that. It kind of happened by accident, but it was a happy accident.
Well, I guess so. You know, it's in your DNA too, right? So what can you do? It's there, and you embrace it and you just be yourself, and it's fun. And what's wrong with fun in today's day and age? I think there's enough things going on that we need a bit of an escape, and entertainment is that very thing. In live with the Beach Boys, do you ever get a chance? I know they have so many songs and hits and whatever, and their fans are there to see them. Do you ever get a chance to kind of showcase any of your songs at any of the shows?
Yeah, in fact, we were just talking about Some Summer, and we had that song for a good 2 months in the set last summer.
Excellent.
And I'm hoping to bring it back into the set this summer as well.
Right on. That's so cool. Yeah, well, it's a summer, right? So it's perfect time to bring it in. And what's your favorite thing about touring with your dad? And then what's the thing that is the most, I guess the good and the bad? What's a good thing you enjoy, and what's something that's maybe not so cool?
Yeah, I think being able to rock out on stage with your dad is a really good feeling. It's a lot of fun just to be jamming out on stage and look over and there's my dad rocking out.
I guess so.
We have a good time. We occasionally maybe look at a girl out in the audience and point. But and then on the other side, it's a challenging travel schedule, but it's better than the opposite. So we're glad to be working.
Because you always got to ask yourself, what else would you be doing? Like, right? What else would you want to be doing at this time?
Yeah, I actually don't know what I would do. I've coached volleyball. I've taught guitar lessons. I've done just about every job there is in the book. So this is nice just to get settled into something for a while.
I guess so. And we're going to do our best to promote your album here because we are on the radio. We have college radio here that we're on every weekday morning. Plus, we can put it in rotation. I'm the show coordinator for Coast to Coast to Coast syndicated radio show where we promote independent music. So I'll get you on that as well on all the campus radio stations across Canada, just because it's perfect for that, and do our best to promote you whenever we can. So all the best. Yeah, all the best tonight with your show here in Sudbury and with your album and your solo career as well, Christian. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, not a problem. Have a great one.
Oh, you too.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, is Tim still in the bus or? Is he
Tim
gone?
left the bus. You wanted me to have him call you?
Well, I think I'll just stay on here, and if you get him, just have him come back in, and I'll keep.
We'll call him back in.
Okay, thanks a lot, Christian. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. So yeah, we've been having a great chat here with Bruce Johnston, who's joined the Beach Boys really shortly after they originally got together, and he told the story of how they all came together and whatever, and he had his own success before even joining the Beach Boys, which he talked about, and songs that he was involved in, and he worked for the record company, and Phil Spector was in his band before he even was really that known, and Phil Spector went on to produce all kinds of legendary albums in the future, including one of the Beatles albums, and also wrote the song "I Write the Songs That Make the Whole World Sing," which was one of the best songs I've ever heard in my life, especially growing up. It just resonated so much with me. I couldn't believe when I saw that he had wrote that song. Pretty incredible. And then Christian Love, who is the son of Mike Love, who is founding member of the Beach Boys, is now touring with his band. So we had a chance to chat with him. He also has his own solo gig going on right now, and he just released his new album, which we are going to be playing some of his new songs, not only on the show, but we're also going to get it played on CKLU 96.7 FM, along with the Earshot Daily, which is the show that immediately follows Sudbury News Talk each and every weekday morning on CKLU, and is found across the country on more than 100 campus and community radio stations, coast to coast to coast in Canada. So we'll do our best to promote his new album and his new songs. And now we're going to be talking with Tim Benum, who is native of Sudbury and was the one who facilitated all of these interviews and was so kind to do this. So we'll be back right after this with an interview with Tim Benum. All right, good afternoon, Tim. Thanks you so much for doing this. I know you're busy.
Oh, just, hometown boy coming in town, and I know how to town. So there you go.
That's right. Now, I saw you did an interview on CTV, what was it, earlier this week, and he had said you'd been in town since Sunday. So were you in town a little bit before and then went for some of the other shows, or how did that work out?
Well, we had 3 days off.
Okay.
So Sunday, the rest of the band guys, they flew into Toronto and stayed there.
Yep.
And I came up to Sudbury. And the next show was in London on Wednesday. So I drove down there. It just beat the storm. Oh, I pulled into Toronto about 30 minutes when it started hitting.
Wow.
Bus and pick back at it,
Yeah. No, that's been the story this spring has been like, when is this freezing rain event going to hit us? It's like we've been having a few of them. It's been a crazy, crazy spring. So how did you enjoy your... What's that?
We chased one from, we got ahead of one, I think it was from Regina to Winnipeg when we played there. And we just, we changed our itinerary basically. So we were driving ahead. We could see the storm following us. It was a trip. But we got into Winnipeg, and then the storm had passed over. And it was cold, but it was fresh snow. And it was a beautiful sunny day, and it's nice. Winnipeg's a nice spot there. We stayed in kind of a historic area. What's it called? The Inn at the Fort or something. There's a bunch of trails there. It's a beautiful day. Oh, yeah. But there were a few storms, and the guys are from the south, and they're kind of, they're done with the weather.
Exactly.
What the hell did I do?
They say living up here builds character, and when I spent a little bit of time in Arizona, I was like, people actually live like this, where they already know exactly what the weather's going to be like every single day. They know exactly what to wear. They know what they're going to expect. You don't get that here, that's for sure. You never know what you're going to get. So did you have a good time did you have a chance to visit friends and family while you were up here?
Not so much out west. I mean, I had some guests out there, and of course, my niece Tessa had some guests out there, and Doug had some guests. My family had guests. But maybe Toronto. We just played in Mississauga, so I had quite a few there. And of course, Sudbury. I think half the crowd is my guest.
Yeah, exactly. So you're going to have.
Right here, you.
I think. Did you hear that come through the show?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, that's terrible. Someone was just trying to call me, but because I'm on a Mac system, my iPhone goes off. Everything is connected with Mac.
Connected. Yeah.
Man, that's
the best
the good.
thing about it, the worst thing about
I
it.
know it's the best thing and the worst thing all at the same time. So you're a Mac guy too?
Well, most people in the music biz are, because so much of the arts are. It's just more. It's just better. You know, it's a better
I
system.
know.
I used to be a PC guy. I was fighting it for a while, but.
It's funny. So tell us a little bit about, for the people who don't know, they're like, he's in Sudbury, but he's in the Beach Boys. It's so funny when I tell people that. Did you know a member of the Beach Boys is in, or a member, or a native of Sudbury is in the Beach Boys? They look at you, look at this strange face, you know, how could that be? So can you just fill everyone in a little bit about, if they're not sure, you know, how that ended up happening?
Well, I took piano lessons at the Saint Etienne for 5 years, and then my dad wanted my older brother Al. He's 5 years older, so he was already on the road in bands, and he moved down to L.A. So my dad didn't want me to move down there; I was too young and stuff. So I went to Western Ontario for music, and it was classical music, and it was good, but it was not what I wanted to do. So then I came back and I worked in Falconbridge for a year, saved my money. And then I moved down to LA. I went to a jazz school down there, and I just stayed down there, and then just worked hard and met the right people. And, 15 years later, I'm an overnight success,
15 years later, exactly. That's usually the way it works. Now, your family, like you mentioned, a couple of them just now, you have a pretty accomplished family. Like, a lot of them has gone on and done really great things, including yourself. And it's I'm really good friends with your brother, Pierre. And, I'm just astounded at how much your family's done and how great of a family you have. You guys are awesome. Like, do you ever sit back and go, wow, I'm so grateful I come from such a great family? Because you guys do, from the outside looking in, you got an awesome family.
Well, from my dad's side alone, there's 5 brothers, and I've got 28 cousins my age group, So we used to have Christmas parties that were just nuts, and it was really family oriented, very solid upbringing. And I always thought that was normal. And the more I go out in the world, I start to realize that's the exception, especially now. And so it really came from my mom and my dad. They were very traditional. And my dad worked, and he had a Remax franchise, Bonham Realty. He worked in Sudbury his whole life. My mom she had 7 kids. All she did was cook, So we had a dog, and everybody else is over at our house. But we grew up on Long Lake. It was a beautiful way to grow up, And New Sudbury, lived there for a long time. And I went to St. Charles College. It was a great school. My best friends are still here. We just
Yep.
we had many beers there at the start of the week when I was here. And I was glad to get back so I could recover for a few days.
Exactly. Yeah. A lot of reminiscing going on. So they'll probably be at the show tonight. Just to let everyone know, the time did change from 8 o'clock to 7 o'clock. What were some of the reasons for moving up the time?
I'm not too sure. I mean, usually on Saturday nights, we usually do 7 or 8 o'clock. And I thought it was 7:30, and then the venue thought it was 8 o'clock. They had it on their, or the promoter did on their website, and then the venue had 7. So we figured it all out.
So it is 7 then?
Yeah, 7 o'clock.
So just to let everyone know who's watching and who'll be watching this on the on demand afterwards, after this live, it'll be at 7 o'clock tonight. And you guys put on a great show. I watched, I saw it way back, like I was talking with Bruce when they came in with Roy Orbison back in the day. Just wondering, did you see that show way back when they came?
No, I didn't go to that show. I don't know why. We went to a lot. That's all we did back then, because that's all there was.
Yeah, exactly.
We used to come to the Sudbury Arena here and watch 8 Ball Wine for $3, or BTO, or all those great Canadian bands. There's so many. Yeah, it was. It's funny. I ran into some of the guys I used to play with at Bell Park. I hate that they tore that amphitheater down. I love it. I know that. I understand that they had to. But man, there's some good memories there. They had bands there. Everybody showed up there. It was a great time.
I have pictures of there, and it's like there's no room for anyone else. It's packed. Like people are just carpeted across, the hill there. There's no room for anyone else. So packed.
That was a great team.
For sure. So here you are. You moved down to California, and what led to your, getting into the Beach Boys, in the Coles Notes
basically,
version?
I was trying to make a living, and I was my brother and I, Al, we had a band called Visitor, and my uncle Claude helped us out a lot. He helped us out by getting equipment for a studio, and we produced about 3 albums there. And we were like a, 80s big hair band thing. My hair was like this big, man. It was like ridiculous. And I weighed 120 pounds. I used to wear girls' clothes and makeup.
I know the feeling. I was there.
It would be acceptable now, but back then it was risque, Anyway, so that making a living, I did everything from a bar mitzvah to like piano bars to jazz gigs to heavy metal gigs. And one of the gigs that I got, a friend of mine called me to play at Disneyland. There was a Beach Boy tribute band there. And through that, we started playing Disneyland. And then through that, we met this guy, Jeff Foskett, and he pulled me into the Beach Boy world.
That's so awesome.
I started playing with Mike in 1990. Mike has his own band called the Endless Summer. What it was, Endless Summer or California Beach Band or something like that. I forget what it was. But he had his own band. So I was working him. He would do about 20 shows a year. And then 96, they made a change in the personnel, and he asked me to come up, and I didn't get fired yet.
I didn't get fired yet. No, far from it. You have quite a few responsibilities. You're not just the keyboard player for the Beach Boys. You do more than that. So what are some of the responsibilities you have on a daily basis?
Well, I got into originally we had 2 keyboard players. Mike Maros, who passed away. He was a great player, a good friend, he passed away. And then through the years, they just slimmed the band down. So then I became 1 keyboard player doing 2 keyboard players' jobs.
Wow.
And then I was also doing some bag boy duties, just getting, because we used to have a guy that we used to have like 40, 50 people on the road. So when Mike took over the band after Carl died, everything got slimmed down. Mm-hmm. So then I became bag boy. So every job paid a little bit more, and then became road manager. And now we have 2 buses. So I manage this bus and I handle Mike, make sure he gets from point A to point B.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's just more of an accumulation of responsibilities and a little bit more money,
and it looks good on a resume, So why not?
Well, so what are you talking about?
So you guys put on a great show. I remember, just the last show at Casino Rama. What was it, a year ago or something? Maybe a little bit longer, but I was very surprised. I was taken aback of how it sounded. Very new. It sounded youthful. It sounded sharp. It sounded like it had an edge. It's not what you expect when you go see a band that's been around for so long, a legendary band like that. And that doesn't just happen by accident. Like, what goes into making sure you guys have that edge that, it sounds very youthful and fresh, almost like the first time, you're hearing it?
Well, I think it's a combination of things, because when you're a musician, you have a younger mentality. So you keep it, of course, the synergy back and forth from the crowd. If you got a sleepy crowd, it's going to be a sleepy show. But the casino episodes are always good. But there's sound, because everybody has updated sounds, so the sound sounds good. And we got a new drummer now, John Bolton, who's like just a fantastic performer. He sings great. He plays great. He's a super fun guy to watch. People love him. I told him he should make a bobblehead. He has Yeah, so he's so it's about the energy. It's a synergy also, but the band guys really we put 100% into every show, and all our vocals are live. We have a few samples that we use just because we don't have enough tracks, But hey, we play. This is what we sound like, and the vocals are great. Sometimes Mike's a little bit off, but that's okay. He's 84 and he's not recorded. This is what I sound like. You're coming to see me, and I sound like this now.
And when you say a little bit off, it's almost like you can't notice it.
Or pitch. Sometimes you'll, forget a lyric or,
whatever. Oh, exactly.
Just see the band laughing on stage. People are like, what happened? They want to know. You guys don't see that, or hear it.
Do you ever marvel and go, he's 84 years old while you're sitting there behind and playing? You know what I mean? Like this guy's 84 years old.
Well, this morning I was marveled. Everybody couldn't get out of bed. You know, we just came in from Peterborough at 4 a.m. He's going, gee, I'm so tired. Oh my God, you know. And there's, Michael B out there. Kick ass, man, every night. He puts it out 110% every night.
Man,
He's a hardworking guy. All of us are. Bruce is out here. He's 81.
I know.
He's up at 6:30 in the morning. Waking up all the waitresses in the hotel.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome. So what's the, sometimes what's your thing that you think about? What's the thing you think about these days the most and go, wow, I can't believe, Well,
sometimes like when you get out here and you're in the grind of this concert, you're just kind of like playing the songs and your mind's going, oh man, what's happening with my kids? And, worry about this. But you're doing your part and everything sounds good. And then every once in a while you kind of go, holy crap, look how many songs these guys have, how many hits. And younger people that come and hear the Beach Boys, the Beach Boys, I think I know them. And all of a sudden they realize, I know like 80% of these songs, and they sing them in their head. They just don't realize it's the Beach Boys.
I know. That's
One time we were big in Utah. I remember because it was a football stadium, and it was in probably 80,000 people there all around. And I'm walking Mike out to the stage, and the whole crowd is singing Kokomo.
Wow.
I was like, holy crap! That guy wrote that song, and everybody knows the words to that song.
Yeah. Huge song.
Yeah.
And again, right? Just these guys, like just talking to Bruce and just before the interview, because it was great that you're able to set up
these guys around.
I know.
He's up there with the Weekend and all these guys. And
I know.
He's got these guys low cash from out of Nashville. Got a #1 hit now.
I know.
Yeah.
How does that happen? It's crazy.
Well, Bruce is a go-getter too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Christian's got his own album out. I don't.
Yeah, Christian wrote a whole album out here, and he's got it produced, and he's promoting it. Thanks for helping him out with the promotion there.
Oh, it's the least I can do. I mean, I'm a fellow musician as well, and it's, the music industry's changed, and it's interesting these days. Like when you're a new artist, it's always been tough to break in. It's just tough in a different way. It's just always been tough. There's been different hurdles. But it's interesting to see, like Christian on one end of the thing, just launching his career, kind of thing, and his solo career. But then in a legendary band who's at the other end of the spectrum kind of thing. But it's an interesting dynamic to have the two kind of together and be experiencing both at the same time, I think. So Christian's in an interesting, spot there.
I wish I had one song in a movie. Like these guys, just they're ridiculous. They get songs that are in the movie. Like we have a trailer at the start of the show. All the songs that the Beach Boys music, all the movies that the Beach Boys music is in. And it's not even all of them. And it's the big movies. And there's probably 50 of them up there, It's amazing.
And year in and year, even if you were to mention the songs that were in the movie this year, like there's enough movies you can mention, even some of these new cartoons and things. There's Beach Boys songs. They could be redone or whatever, different versions.
Kids don't even know where the songs come from.
No.
They just know that song. Because the lyrics, Mike wrote most of the lyrics.
Yep.
The lyrics are all positive, fun stuff. Sunshine, cars, girls,
Yeah.
No negativity, I think that's what the longevity of the band is.
And it's got that thing. And I don't know if you had the same experience when you were a youngster like I did with the Beach Boys. But I remember, in the basement, the lights are off. You got the record player. You put on the Beach Boys, and it's like magic. In this, you get that chill up and down your spine, kind of thing with the music. It's just so inspirational. And you do the whole, you mimic it like you're singing, and that's the kind of. It was just energetic. My sister's name is Rhonda, so that was iconic. Help me, Rhonda. All that stuff growing up, and it's just so amazing. It was just spiritually uplifting. And it's not something you think about with rock and roll, that it's spiritually uplifting. It's usually supposed to be, something your parents warn you about kind of thing. But
when they broke out too, historically, they came in at a very cultural upheaval, The culture really changed in the 60s. Like when they started, they were kind of a 50s doo-wop band. Mm-hmm. Then by 5 years later, you had Jimi Hendrix and Led Zeppelin and Pet Sounds coming out, and it was like, whoa, long hair, and it really, the cultural there, that was not long that happened.
Yeah,
and they were right in the middle of it,
Oh yeah,
So
they're in the middle of the eye of the storm.
with the longevity and the historical significance of the band.
100%, 100%. So, do you ever take some time what have your experiences been with original songs or being involved with people who are writing original songs? Is that something that you like to collaborate with, or do you like to play on different people's things, or do you kind of stay away from any original music, or like what's been your kind of experience with things like that?
Well, when I get off tour, I got 2 kids in LA. They're grown up and married and all that stuff. So for a long time, I would just go back home and just spend time with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm away a lot. But then again, they traveled all over the world. They've been to Europe a bunch of times, Canada, all over the U.S., Australia. So there's a trade-off there. They were real happy that we went all over the place.
For sure.
Probably when they're a teenager, they're probably glad I wasn't around.
Yeah, you're right. And I hear that. Yeah, I hear that from anybody.
I worked on Christian's album. I do work with some friends.
Great.
Just playing on stuff. I still have a lot of music that I've written that I haven't completed. So when I get to during COVID, I did a lot of work on that, and just kept it. I still have. It's more artistic for me now rather than trying to make a career or, make money off it or something. But, yeah, it's just personal. It's almost personal music,
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, it's good for me. But
sure.
when I get, because and you're tired, you get on the road. The last thing you want to do is start pounding the piano again.
Exactly, that's your job.
I need a break because we wear these in-ear monitors, right? So it's a direct hit right to, and it just wears you out.
That's what people say about mechanics. They're the ones driving around with the cars that aren't fixed because they're fixing everyone else's car, right? If you're a musician and that's what you do as a living, what are you going to do?
Don't marry a masseuse. Don't marry a masseuse and never get a massage.
Exactly. So tonight, what are people going to expect at the Sudbury Arena? Like, what can they expect when they come out to see the show?
Well, Mike, we pretty much do, 90% the same show, and it's paid. Mike is an excellent entertainer. He knows how to do the pacing of the show, and people always have a good time. We told him today. I just talked to security before I came on here. Said if people want to stand up and dance, let them. Because a lot of these security people, they want to keep people down, or they want to block people or whatever. I said just let them go. It's going to be a way better show if people are up and dancing. The whole crowd will get into it.
Yeah, and that's true. I can't picture being at a Beach Boys concert without being able to get up and and dance. So are the security going to allow that, as far as you know?
Oh yeah, they're fine with it. Because the guys that are doing security, they're just doing their job. They just do what they're told.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if somebody comes down and says, "Hey, let them dance," oh, okay, they don't care. Just don't let them jump on stage. It's not like we're like Shakira or something. People might throw their dentures at us. Or something,
I was just gonna say, do you get a lot of people storming the stage these days, or throwing their bras?
Once in a while, we get these bras thrown up there. When Stamos comes out, we get a little more of that kind of weirdo stuff. Not weird, fun, really fun stuff.
For sure. And a question I did want to ask you as well, but I did ask Bruce really briefly about the political things that are going on these days between Canada and the U.S. And I'm sure you're a dual citizen, right? Correct?
Well, I became a citizen about 2 years ago.
Okay.
I was a permanent resident for a long time. I didn't want to become a citizen, but I was thinking of moving to Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And a friend of mine told me, hey, if you move to Europe, you better get your citizenship because you'll take away your permanent residency.
Oh, yes. So it's strategic in a way to do that.
I'm a U.S. resident, and I voted actually for the first time in my life. I never voted in Canada.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah, I was like, wow, this is a big moment.
Yeah, and speaking of that, things are getting like a little bit heated in terms of these. There's been a change in the dynamic between the U.S. and Canada, and there's these tariffs and whatever. But there's an election going on in Canada, and here they're using that as a political point in their campaigns, and it's making a division. So they're talking really divisively about the United States, and I have a soft spot in my heart for the United States. I lived there for 2 years. I was born in Sault Ste. Marie, which is a border town, so I've always been back and forth. I've only had good things, but it seems to be divisive these days. What are your are you sensing any of that since being in Canada, or are you hearing anything or getting any boos when you sing surfing in the USA or anything like that?
No, we don't. I think people come to the shows to get away from that,
Good,
And Mike doesn't bring it up during the shows.
good.
And it's beyond any of us. I think that most Canadians and Americans are 99% of us are friendly with each other. And this is all just political stuff that
Yep,
we really have no control over.
yep.
So what's going to happen is going to happen. And I think that that's one of the reasons why people like coming to concerts, and because they want to get away from that. And the last thing they need to be doing is get reminded of it at the show,
Yeah, 100%. It's an escape. That's what entertainment is. It's there to escape the mundane and just have a good time and let your hair down. If you have hair, I'm sure you can let it down. And
If you want to fight, go on the hot drink,
yeah, exactly. Does it look like how it's going to be a packed crowd tonight? Do you know like how it's looking?
Well, when I start, because I know the promoters, and my family knows these guys, and it's so close. When they put the tickets out, the first week they sold 2,500 seats.
Oh, right on. That's awesome.
Yeah, they sent them up to the Wolves are involved, the Wolves Entertainment.
Yep.
So they put it out to their season ticket holders, and wham, they were gone. So
Right on.
I
That's
tried to get some tickets for my friends, and I was like, oh my God, what do you mean they're sitting back there? I'm like, that's all there is, man. There's nothing left. I'm sorry.
There's only nosebleeds left, so if you want to go out and see them and get some tickets, but at the same time, there's no bad seat in the Sudbury Arena. It's so close to the stage, and
The way the stages are designed now, nothing's blocked, because they hang the PA from the roof.
mhm.
So it's almost like, I don't know how many degrees that is, 180-degree view.
Yep.
So and our crew's great. We had a great crew that always sounds good out there. They adjust to the room, and we're a very well-oiled machine. Everybody knows their job, and it just comes in, bang, very professional.
Yep.
One thing Beach Boys.
Yeah, awesome. And one thing I really appreciated was the history they had at the beginning of the last show I saw. Are you guys going to kind of have a little expose like that? Is that still part of the show where you kind of show little?
We would do a little. Well, it's a little bit different now. Now what they do is, actually, John Stain was the one that produced it. He took all the movies, not all the movies, but a bunch of movies that the Beach Boys songs were in.
Oh,
So
good.
it's amazing. They're short 10-second clips, and it's probably 3 minutes long. It's just like, how many songs is that?
I know. It's incredible.
Movie.
So John Stamos continues to be kind of like a, part of the band in a way, like doing whatever he can to promote the Beach Boys, right? So he's still part of the.
Great. But he's doing movies. They just love him. Everywhere we go, people ask about him, and he's really good for the band. And imagine having that life. Hey, Mike, yeah, I'm bored, man. Can I come and play with the Beach Boys? Sure.
I know. Because he was here. He was here when they played the Laurentian University at the track there. Yeah, he was here.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, with Roy Orbison. That was back in the 80s, I think, maybe 89 or something like that. It was around there. It was right at the height of, I couldn't believe Roy Orbison's voice. Anyways, that's what Bruce mentioned as well. Like, he was at the top of his game.
That guy, yeah, and he wrote some great songs.
I know. There's so much history with the Beach Boys. I mean, it's legendary. It's epic. It's biblical. It's like bigger than, like, I know a lot of the youngsters don't realize. Like, I think when people get brought up to speed on how big of a machine this is, it's like mind blowing. And it's almost like something that you can never get the end to. It's like you peel away a layer and there's another layer and another layer to the Beach Boys. I don't think it really ever ends. Am I?
Well, what happens is people are used to these sounds, like the guitar sounds like this and the keyboard sounds like that. Back in those days, they didn't have those sounds.
No.
There wasn't like a distorted guitar in 1961, really.
No.
You know what I mean? They had a clean guitar. They did. The theremin came out. People are like, "What the hell is that thing?" Vibrations. They didn't have a synthesizer. They didn't have all the sound. They had 4 tracks in the recording studio. So in my Mac, I got unlimited tracks with all these samples and great sounds and all this stuff. They created that sound, and that era. It's not only cultural, but it's technological and it's historical. And I think the kids don't get that until they get a little bit older and start to realize how significant that is. Because the sound that you're listening to now, all comes from that.
Yeah. And Brian Wilson, on how innovative he was as a music producer and creator. Again, it can't be understated on his contribution to music in general. And Good Vibrations you brought up. Like, I mean, does that song blow your mind even to today, in today's standards?
That's the one song I get nervous playing.
The timing change even. How do you even do that?
Well, the funny thing is, to explain it, we took because there's a cello part that goes da 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 da.
Yep.
Right. I used to try to play that, and I was okay, but it's solid. So we got the sample off the record, and I have to trigger that. So I got to be right on, because we have a click track going to keep everybody in tempo. Because when the guitar player is 40 feet away, we can't hear each other. So we have a click track that comes in our ears only.
Yep.
So I have to hit that sample right with the click track. So if that's off, everybody's off. So
yep.
And it's loud. I mean, our sound man's got that thing cranking. So you got 50,000 watts doing that thing, and you don't want to mess that one up. And then I have to do the theremin also.
Oh man.
Yeah. And then Christian's singing the song, and then I got to put the organ part, and he sings a little bit back, but I can't listen to him. I got to listen to that click track.
Yep.
Keep pushing. He's supposed to. That's what the sound is. So there's all this like movement of the tempo and the meter, and so that's a great song too. Mike wrote the lyrics of that on the way to the studio.
You're kidding.
In 20 minutes.
They say that's what really happens. That's the magic. A lot of these songs, a lot of the most iconic songs, they just come. They're just there. It's like you got to get out of the way, and it just kind of comes onto the paper. And I guess that's an example of that. And that's like modern Beethoven is the way I look at it with Good Vibrations. It's like an orchestra.
And Wouldn't It Be Nice? And God Only Knows.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, Jesus.
Epic.
Paul McCartney said God Only Knows is the best song ever written.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with him.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Long and Winding Road, I think, was his kind of answer to that song. It's got the same kind of, if you played those songs back to back, they have like a similarness to them.
The structure's not there.
No, I know.
Because basically, if you're a musician, it's an A Lydian, which is weird, which is dun, 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 dun.
Yes.
That's like a dun, 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 dun.
Yep.
That's way advanced.
Genius in so many ways, like you can't understate the genius. And I'm just so grateful to chat with you today, Tim. And I wish we can just continue to chat longer. And
I actually got a few guests I got to attend to.
I know, and I'm really aware of your time and your schedule, and I appreciate it. And thank you so much for being on. And let's touch base at some other point, because we could get together like this even when you're back in Los Angeles.
Oh yeah. Well, if we do something fun, we're playing Capitol 4th this year at the Capitol, July 4th. Sorry, at the Capitol in the U.S. That's a big function. That's a huge deal, and it's broadcast all over the country.
Nice.
Yeah, sometimes that's when I sit there. We've done that a few times. John Stamos hosts that. Imagine the pressure of that. Oh my God. Standing in front of the whole world, July 4th.
I know.
And then we got to play with the National Symphony, and we just do our stuff, but it's still like, I can't believe, what the hell am I doing here?
That's so cool. And people like myself, we live vicariously through people like you, and social media is so good for that. I know you have a few times where you just take your iPhone and you're kind of do the selfie with the crowd in the back, and
I do my Timmy in the corner, I call it.
Timmy in the corner. Yeah. That's on your Instagram.
I started doing these selfies, and I kept cutting my head out, so I only had like a quarter of my head in. So it was just funny, right? So a friend of mine called Timmy in the corner. That's what I called my thing. And it went nuts. Everybody loves this thing.
It's true. I thought it meant because that's where you because that's where you are on the stage. You're kind of like beside the drummer. You know what I mean?
No, but it's the pictures. I'm always in the corner.
Oh, okay. That's where it came from. That's interesting. That's funny.
It's funny, though. It's a funny little bit. I got a poster. I still got a ton of material I haven't put up there. I'm not a poster guy. I should hire
You should. Yeah. You should get an intern. What intern wouldn't want to, somehow get a grant or something to travel with you guys and get some really good experience?
Send them the files,
Or that, do it from home. Exactly. Yeah. Heck, I'd love to do something like that.
Yeah. but then I got to send him the files.
That's exactly. You have to hit send.
Go over this shit, man.
You got
Sorry,
enough.
man.
You got enough responsibilities, Tim, and then you got to
I do it
play.
for fun. People like it, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Know where I am in the world and whatever.
Well, thanks again. I break a leg tonight, not literally, but give her, you know what, and looking forward to seeing you. I'll be one of those guys in the back and the nosebleeds and whatever, and cheering you guys on, and hopefully.
One funny thing about breaking a leg is our bass strings never break.
No,
Okay.
barely.
About 2 nights ago, you know, our bass player broke a string. So,
Wow.
And we were laughing. Hey, get out there, Keys, break a string.
Break a string.
It's been a bit of a joke on that tour.
So you said that before, and then it actually happened, or you said it afterwards?
Yeah, we started doing it after.
Oh, okay. I was going to say it'd be.
His people used to say that to him just as a, hey, go break a string, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness. But it does happen. I'm a bass player, and it happens every once in a while, but it's very rare. Not as much as guitar, obviously. No. So, and never on a keyboard. So
well, we just have colossal failure where nothing works. That's what we have.
Because you have computer chips.
Yeah. Well, whatever. Like we were playing at the what is it, Coachella? What's a stagecoach? You know, 80,000 people out there. You know, that's like going on, and all of a sudden my rig stops working, and I'm looking down. What the hell's going on? This is working. That's working. The lights are on. What's going on?
Yep.
It turned out the USB cable that connects to my audio interface slightly became unplugged.
Yep.
So I just put it back in. Everything was fine. But in the meantime, I'm having a goddamn heart attack.
Well, that's what I mean. You have to troubleshoot like 15 different things because it could be 15 different problems why it's not working, right? So your mind was going through that drill down thing. Okay, it's not that, it's not that, it's not that. Yeah. The life of a musician. It's fun.
It's so hard.
It's so hard. Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks again,
anyway,
Tim.
Thanks for the interview. And
thank you.
We'll see you next time.
Have a great one, Tim. Appreciate it. Tim Bonham from the Beach Boys, everyone. Have a great show tonight. Ciao.
See you later.